you can go get a paycheck elsewhere.
Yeah, it's
There's that
changed.
old parable or whatever it is, that three masons working on a church, and they asked the first guy, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm laying bricks." And the second guy says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm building a church." The third guy says, "I'm honoring my God." So they're doing the same thing,
Yeah,
but they have different purpose.
perspectives. Yeah,
Yeah, and so yeah, those 12 questions is a great place to see where you stand.
yeah,
But I do think overall, and two topics to date are partnerships, and came up because I've got one that's blowing up right now, and you may know somebody. Second one is employees, because everybody's concerned about that. We've got those problems. I think a third one we wanted to talk about, and it kind of relates to employees because of having to pay more money, is issues I'm hearing all the time, every day,
with pricing.
pricing.
Yeah,
And the way I talk to my contractor and manufacturing clients, well, everybody about it, is that, look, the Chinese didn't have any trouble telling their shipping agent that the cost has gone up, and the shipping agent didn't have any trouble telling the wholesaler that the cost went up. The wholesaler didn't have any problem telling your distributor that it went up. And when it gets to you, most of my clients are having a really hard time telling their customers the price went up, and they're just eating it.
yeah,
Hopefully people who are listening aren't all eating it, but it's really common.
yep,
And that includes the price of the materials that you're getting from importers, but also the people who are working for you.
yeah,
You can't eat it all. You're not the buffer for the world. You have to have the courage to raise your prices. I gave a presentation out of town here 2 weeks ago and used actual numbers about a $5 million company who made $65,000 last year on $5 million of sales. It's freaking ridiculous.
yeah,
What the hell are you doing? How did that happen? Well, I priced this stuff, and then the next shipment of materials I got in were up 20%. I said, well, you got to do a surcharge. You got to do something. You got to leave it open. You can't price it, price it with a range, whatever it is. Well, my competitors will not do that. And they said, well, fine. What's your point? You want to come to work and like you use it like a gym membership where you get exercise and actually pay for the right to do it. That passing the costs on is something everybody's having a real hard time with. More and more they're doing it,
yeah,
and they're not really getting that much pushback. In other words, it's working. But you have to be, that comes up all the time, and we just want the listeners to think about that. What am I doing this for? If I'm working and I'm not making any money and I'm getting ambushed by costs from labor and material, what are you doing?
yep,
It's time to pony up. And I know we don't like to put numbers in a podcast, but one of the numbers that I use all the time is if you have a 35% margin and you increase your prices 10%, you can lose 22% of your business and make the same profit. That is intended to give you courage to raise prices. If you got a 5% margin and you raise your prices 10%, and I'm not looking at the table, but you can lose about 40% of your business.
yeah,
And how did you get to 5? Because you got squeezed by price hikes that you didn't know about and by labor costs.
yeah. And
So,
I think
gotta do it.
people see those numbers and they think, wow, I could lose all my business and make the same amount of profit. But what they're thinking is, man, if I have that much less customers, I'm not going to be able to afford all these employees, and I would have to let them go. And
You can sell them because they're so valuable.
exactly. What's important to recognize, though, is it goes back to the objective purpose of business that we've talked about before, is that you're not in this to run a charity. You're not in this to just employ people.
You're not in it to make sales.
Yes,
You're not even in it to make profit. You're in it to make profit that you can collect.
that you can turn into cash.
Right.
That is, that you're in it to make cash so that you can generate more cash. And yes, there are benefits to generating cash that allow you to employ people, that allow you to have a great culture, that allow you to be in the community, that whatever subjective reason you have for being in business. But you can't sit here and run a high top dollar, top line revenue sales organization. You're in it to run a high bottom line organization. Right. And it's a shift in perspective that changes the way that you run and the way that you're going to have to raise prices eventually. Another thing with raising prices, though, you can't, we're talking about doing it reactively. And it's always a little too late when you run it reactively. You run into these issues, these financial troubles, these stressful times because you're doing it reactively. If you can do it proactively, if you can see that, oh wow, inflation's going up. If you get, or say that the government's pumping money and inflation's going to go up, you can start to see that, wow, people are having a hard time hiring because they're not paying enough. My labor costs are going to go up. Start to raise your prices proactively, and you'll be thankful that you did, because you won't have that quarter or 2 quarters of times where you were reactive and are down financially and running out of money. It's a lot easier said than done, but the more proactive you can be with your price increases, with your hiring process, with your marketing,
And you know,
the better.
we have all kinds of people listening. You know, if you're general or a remodeler or something like that, you're dealing with the public. If you're a cabinet manufacturer, you're selling to builders who's tuned in a little bit. But just go raise damn prices. Just go up. Just the next. If you're driving somewhere listening to this, raise the price 5%.
Yeah.
Just do it, because, I mean, maybe it should be more than that, but that's an exercise.
Yeah.
Because people just almost always find out I raised it and nothing happened.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that, you know, especially B2B, you know, where somebody's going to complain and they're going to push back and tell your competitors higher than that. And if you have reasons other than just price that they do business with you, they'll be back.
Yep.
But you have to hit that disgust point. Jim Rohns talks about it, that disgust is such a great word. It generally has a negative connotation, but it can be a powerful, positive force.
Yeah.
Like, I'm disgusted. I am sick of going to work. I'm sick of being short of cash. I'm sick of chasing employees who don't want to be here. I'm not doing this anymore.
Yep.
I'm going to make enough money that I can pay wages and keep people, and I collect my receivables, and I'm sick of it. I'm not doing this for fun anymore, because it's not fun anymore.
And yeah,